Today I'm going to show you the common mistakes that candidates make when writing examples. My name is Lara Ryan. I've been an IELTS examiner in writing and speaking. I have been an IELTS teacher at the British Council. I've been teaching IELTS since 2010 and I'm the founder of Complete Test Success. As always, please like my video and subscribe to my channel so I can continue making videos like these. So before we look at these common issues, let me just show you where in an essay examples belong so that we're all on the same page. So a typical structure might look like this. We will have one paragraph for the introduction, another body paragraph 1, then body paragraph 2, and the final paragraph will be the conclusion. Now in the introduction, you'll have a paraphrase and an outline. Body paragraph 1 will have a topic sentence, an explanation and an example. Body paragraph 2 will be the same, and in the conclusion, you will repeat your opinion and your main ideas. So in this lesson, what we're looking at is the examples that we can include in the body paragraphs. Okay, and one more thing to make sure that this lesson is easy to follow, I want to show you a body paragraph that we will use as a sample for this lesson. Okay, so let's say the question is this. Nowadays, more people are getting married in their 30s rather than in their 20s. Is it a positive or a negative development? So in our body paragraph, we needed a topic sentence, an explanation, and an example. So the topic sentence might be something like this. When couples get married in their 30s, they will have had more opportunities to travel and see the world. Then the explanation. This is because they tend to have children shortly after getting married, and all of their time is needed for the important task of raising a family. Okay, so for the rest of the lesson, we will add different examples to this paragraph, and I will explain the various problems that we commonly see in the IELTS writing test. So first of all, good examples should sound real. So let's look at an example that doesn't follow this criteria. For example, if someone in their 20s gets married and has children, they won't have enough time to travel the world. Now, this doesn't sound like a real example. It sounds like I've imagined a situation and I've written about the situation I've imagined. In fact, this is really just a repetition of the explanation. So what you should do is you should be referring to real people in the real world and real situations, perhaps real companies, real businesses in your area. If you can give an example that at least sounds like it's real, that's much better than describing something that you have just imagined. Another very common type of example that candidates write is examples that quote research. So it might look something like this. For example, 100% of people who are single go abroad on their holidays and 0% of people who are married with children go abroad on their holidays. So the first issue here is that these percentages are too extreme and completely unrealistic. But even if those percentages were more realistic, the issue is that it's not very convincing and we would not consider it to be a very well supported argument, especially if you're looking for higher scores like a band 8 or a band 9 in task achievement. Another very common problem we see is that the examples are not about the question. Your example must be relevant to what the question has asked you to discuss, or else it's not going to help improve your score. So an appropriate example must be about the question. Nowadays, more people are getting married in their 30s rather than in their 20s. So the example must be about this topic. So if I said, most of my friends from secondary school, for example, while in their 20s, travelled abroad during their summer holidays, but now that they have successful careers, they don't take much time off work anymore. So the problem here is that I'm talking about my main idea, which is about having the opportunity to travel. But the question was about people getting married in their 30s instead of their 20s. So if I just talk about my main idea, but not in the context of the question, it's not appropriate, and this will not help me to develop my idea and get a higher task achievement score. And in the same way that your example must be about the question, your example must also be about the main idea that you're discussing in the paragraph. So here the main idea is more opportunities to travel and see the world. So my example must be about this. But if I say something like this, it's not appropriate. Most of my friends from secondary school, for example, while in their 20s, had lots of free time. But now they are married with children, they are very busy. So that example was about the question. but it wasn't about the main idea. The main idea was traveling the world, not just having more free time in general. So if you just say they had more free time and they didn't use that time to travel and see the world, well then it's not about your main idea, and once more, it's not improving your task achievement score. As you're probably aware already, I have free live feedback lessons every week. Those are my group lessons on Zoom. If you're not already subscribed, you will find the link in the video description. Sign up and you will be able to join me on Zoom for more support with your IELTS preparation. So something that's often appropriate when you're writing your examples is to first describe a change and then describe the outcome of that change. So let's look at how we can do that for this particular paragraph. Most of my friends from secondary school, for example, while in their 20s, travelled abroad during their summer holidays, but now that they are married with children, their summer holidays are normally spent at home. So in many cases, writing an example is as simple as that. Describe some type of a change that occurred and describe the outcome that supports your idea. So a lot of students ask me, is it okay to invent examples or is it better to use real examples? And honestly, it doesn't matter as long as it's relevant. It must be about the question. It must be about your main idea. And sometimes, honestly, it's just easier to invent an example. But if you find it more difficult to invent examples and you find it easier to describe a real situation, well then of course that's what you should do. So it really just depends on your particular abilities. But always remember that describing some kind of a change and then the outcome that supports your idea, well that's all you need to do. So if that's a real example or if that's an invented example, it doesn't really matter. Something that isn't a massive problem, but also isn't the strongest way to support an idea, is by writing an example that is about just one person. So it might look like this. While I was in my 20s, for example, I travelled abroad during my summer holidays, but now that I am married with children, my summer holidays are normally spent at home. So it is an example that supports my idea, and it's also relevant to the question, but am I the only person in this situation? If we're trying to support an idea, it sounds a lot better if there are a lot of people having the same experience. So instead of saying I, you can include a group of people that you know. So you might take an example from your own life, and instead of saying I experienced this, you would say the people I went to school with experienced this, my colleagues, my friends, my family members. Then you have the exact same example. It's not complicated. You just make it about a group of people, and then it's good enough. So that's pretty much the main mistakes that people make when writing examples. If you can avoid these mistakes, it will help you improve your task achievement score and, in turn, your overall IELTS score. If you've been making any of these mistakes in your examples, please let me know in the comments. I love reading what you have to say. Or if you think I've missed a common issue that students make with their examples, let me know too. I'd love to find out.